Okay, good day students. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about CSS. All right, so without wasting any time, let's try to find out exactly what CSS stands for. Now, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. So, CSS, it is a markup language that's responsible for how your web pages will look like, right? So, it's mainly used for styling your web page. It does control the colors, the font, and the layout of your website elements. So it also say that it's mainly intended to simplify the process of making web pages presentable. Now, in other words, it simply means that without CSS, your website might not look that presentable at all. um, CSS handles the look and the feel part of a web page. So without CSS, your website will appear like a plain HTML page. We have an example here of Twitter. If looking at it right now, let me just try to expand it a bit. You could see that this is just plain HTML. So if they could remove all the CSS, this is exactly how it will look like. Not presentable at all. Okay, so having said that, let's move on to the next one. So it says that any modification in the design of a website, any modification in the design of website was a very difficult and boring task, as it involves manually editing every HTML page. In other words, is when you are basically styling an HTML page, it was difficult back then and very boring, because you will eventually have to manually edit every HTML page to style it and so on. But currently everything has changed now. The advantages of CSS saves time. You can write the CSS once, then reuse the same sheet in the multiple HTML pages. You can define a style for each HTML element and apply it as many web pages as you want. So in other words, it means that you can actually style even 5 pages at one time, saving you time to style every individual page and so on. And then the pages load faster. So if you're using CSS, you do not need to write HTML tag attributes every time. Just write one CSS rule of a tag and apply it to all other tags within the page. So it means less code means faster download times. And it's very easy to maintain. To make a global change, it simply change the style. Yeah, it's very much easy for you to maintain, because if you want to make any changes, you only make changes to one thing and boom, everything changes. Okay, now let's look at the syntax of the CSS. So this is like the rule. So CSS does have a selector, and then it also has a declaration block. It has inside the declaration block, we have a property and the value. Now the selector is what you want to change in the HTML page, or what you want to style in the HTML page. So the selector can be a body, okay, for the whole entire website. It can be heading 1, okay. It can be whatever you want to style, or whatever you want to style in the web pages that we coded in HTML. Okay, and then we have a declaration block. Now this is where you find the property and the value. For example, you have body here, and you want to change the color of the body to what? To black. All right, so black becomes a value and color becomes a property. You have the background of the body. What do you want to change on the body? Its background to what? To white. All right, so that's the value. So if you know the syntax of CSS, everything else becomes even much more easier. Okay, now let's continue. A CSS comprises of style rules that are interpreted by the browser, then applied to the corresponding elements in your document. A style rule is made of 3 parts. This is what we're explaining. We have a selector. A selector is like an HTML tag at which a style will be applied. This could be a tag like age1, table, and so on. Just like I said, a selector is what you want to style. And then we have a property. A property is a type of an attribute of an HTML tag. It put simply, all the HTML attributes are converted into CSS properties. They could be color, border, background, and so on. And then the value assigned to properties. For example, color property can have a value either of red or you know, hashtag F1 F1 F1, etc. So this one, if once you know the syntax of CSS, just like I said, then in all these three parts, then you are all sorted. Now we have three types of CSS. We have inline style sheet, we have internal or embedded style sheet, and we also have external style sheet. So these are the three types of CSS that you can use. Now let's try to find out what they basically mean. Now the inline style is when you style inside an HTML tag. All right, I hope you understand this. Inline style is when you want to style inside an HTML tag. Now, inline CSS is used to style a specific HTML element. For this CSS style, you only need to add the style attribute to each HTML tag without using a selector. So if you are using inline, there's no need of you putting in a selector because you are already within an HTML tag. Okay. So this CSS type is not really recommended as each HTML tag needs to be styled individually. So this takes much time because you need to now style every HTML element. Let me say if you want to style all the heading ones, it's to maybe a red color, you go to all the headings ones within the web pages, which actually takes up much time. So managing your website may become too hard if you only use inline CSS. So I do not recommend you to make use of inline CSS. For example, let's just have a look here. Okay, let me just open my brackets right here. So due to time, I'll just paste my code right here. So these are my HTML codes. So what I will do, I will go to File. Remember, every time when you are developing a website, it's very much important to make sure that you first have a folder. You need to create a folder where you will save everything. So I'll name this folder as test. Okay, there's another test. Let's name it as we can name it test1. Okay, and then I'll name this page as my index. So remember, the extension of HTML is .html or .htm. Once I'm done with that, I need to save it in test1. I save it. You'll see that everything changes now. My bracket picks up that it's HTML. So basically, so I have my heading right here. Maybe I should just take out this style, this CSS right here. Okay. What else do we have here? Okay, let me see. File, save. Let's have a look at go to my desktop. Here is test1. Let's see how it looks like right now. So it's just a form. All right, so it's just a form right there, a normal form. Okay, so let's go back to our code. Okay, so my form basically starts from here all the way there. Okay, so it's just a normal form. Now let's say that I have a heading. Let's add a heading here. Okay, heading 1. Let's say this is registration form. Okay, so let's try to save this. Go back to our browser, we refresh, so we have registration form right there. Okay, now let's go back to our slides. So with inline, it's a matter of you. So let me say that I want to style my heading 1. All right, okay, maybe let me also have another heading 1 in my codes. So the form ends there. I can have another heading 1 here, heading 1. Okay, and then maybe let me name this pop-up. Okay, so we're gonna go to file. So every time you make changes, make sure that you save. I go refresh this, and then I have my other heading 1 here. Now if you look at in the notes, with inline style, this is how it is. So you take the style tag equals to color. You want to change the color to white. The padding should be 30 pixels. for this heading 1 right here. So you are basically in styling inline. You are basically styling inside the H1, meaning you are only styling H1, right? Okay, so I could copy this. Okay, and just due to time, let's say where's my heading 1 is here. Where is it? Here, right here. Okay, so Control V for pasting. So I need to put colon and this. Now let's see what happened to my, let's say now the color should be red, or maybe let's make it this. Okay, so I go to File, Save. Let's go back to our website. You see it changes, but then the only thing that it only styled the registration form, which is my first heading 1 that I had, but inside the same web page I have another heading 1. So it simply means if I want to style this other heading 1 right here, I still need to do another inline styling for this heading 1. So for me, I feel like that really takes out a lot of time. Okay, so just like you see in your codes here, the body was styled individually, H1 was styled here individually, P for paragraph was also styled individually. So yeah, this is very complicated. All right, so if you look at your index, you see that you do not need to put a selector because the selector is already within the body, and you know this is your property here and this is your value. So do not forget that between your property and your value there's always a colon and then a semicolon at the end. Okay, just like we've seen here. So never forget this colon and the semicolon to end the styling right here every time, and the 2 open curly brackets. Those ones are very important as well. Okay, but the open curly brackets, you don't really use it for inline. That you can probably use it for you know, for external and all that, which you will be able to see now. Okay, so having said that, let's quickly move on. And then we have okay, this is just an example right there, and then we go to internal style. So internal styles, it requires you to add a style tag in the head section of your HTML document. This CSS style is an effective method of styling a single page. However, using this style for multiple pages is time consuming, as you need to put CSS rules to every page of your website. What this simply means here, internal styles can be they're there because you will style the whole entire page without installing every without you having to install every element, HTML element. But also it can take up much time. If you have 6 pages, then you also need to have the CSS rule in all those 6 pages. Okay, so let's have a look at the example. So with the example, it's very simple. Between your head tag and your closing tag, you should have a style tag, and then you have then what here you have, obviously this is where you also have your selector, what you want to style in the page, and what's the property and the value that you want. Like here is the body, they want the background color to be blue, and all the heading wants color to be red and padding. Now if you put H1 here, it will affect all the heading ones in the web page. So I'm just going to copy this, right, due to time. Okay, so with internal style sheet, you need to start with a style tag every time, and then you have therefore your selector, your properties, and your values. Now let's quickly go back to our code. So I'm just going to remove this inline CSS here. I'll remove this inline CSS right there, and then okay, we do have, okay, I'm going to paste it between the head. All right, I'll remove this this other closing head. Perfect. So you see I have my style tag, body, background color should be blue, and all the heading one, the color should be red, the padding should be 60 pixels. So here we have it. Now let's try to save this and see if these changes will happen, if our background color will be blue and all the headings ones will be red. Now remember, at this moment, last time I just did an inline styling and it only affected the first heading one and not the second one. So I'm just going to refresh my page and see what happens. Whoop, you see that? Very, very, very exciting. All right, so basically what happened is that all the heading ones here, they all changed into red, and my whole background, okay, the background of my body also changed to blue. So it affects everything on that particular web pages if you style in the head tag. Okay, so let's just go back. So just to repeat, so it's between your head tags, then you have your style tag. It's within your style tag where you put the selector, open curly brackets, the property, the value, colon, the property, colon, the value, and the semicolon. All right, and you close the curly brackets. So all the changes that you want to apply for this page is you just do it here. If I have to add another heading one right here, H1, and then I just write testing, you'll see that by default the style will already change because it's already affected right here. So let me go back to our web browser and refresh. You'll see, oh, did I say 13? Sorry guys, spelling error. You'll see that the red also changes right there. Okay, testing. Perfect, there we go. Okay, there we have it. All right, so let's go back to our notes. I believe you guys are getting an idea between inline now, internal and external. Okay, so let's go back to our third one. So the third one is an external style. This is when it's linked style inside a separate file with the .css extension. Now with the external style, this is the most interesting one. You basically have to you need to open another file and you save it as a .css extension, and you link it within the head of the HTML file. All right, this is how you link it, like this, and all the changes that are in that CSS extension file, it will affect all the other pages within that folder. Okay, only if you link it this way. So it doesn't require you to do a lot of things. You just put the link and everything else will be changed. So we are going to try this one as well. So what you do, we'll just first try to remove the internal style. Okay, so I'll remove that. If I go to file and save, go back to our browser and refresh. Okay, all the styles are removed. Now for external CSS, the first thing is you need to open a new file, and then obviously you save it inside the same folder where your HTML file is. So this was on our desktop, it was in test1 folder. All right, we can call it style.css. Make sure that you always save it with an extension of .css. all right, once you do that, you save it there. Okay, so this is the file. Now let's say, for instance, let's go back to our notes. Let's say we want to style the body, where we want the background maybe to be, okay, this if we had a picture. We currently don't have, okay, maybe I should put a picture there. The background size, cover, the font family, and the color to be white, and so on. So I'm just going to take this. So with the external CSS, there isn't really much to be done. All you do is just this. you paste it right there. You just paste the styling, you don't need anything. I can also put H1 maybe. Okay, and then H1 we can say color, and then we put aqua, and then you put the semicolon. So this will start for heading 1, this will start for the whole entire body. So currently nothing will happen because we didn't link the style sheet to the index page, and to link that, this is what you will need. You need to link the 2 pages. Again, for you to link the 2 pages in the HTML page, you still need to come in the between the 2 heads right there and paste the linking. So the link is very simple. Open, you put the link href. What is it? Is style.css. Okay, so this is the name of my page. You see here is style.css. Okay, real style sheet. Type is a text or CSS, and then that's it. So I remove this title because we already have a title. So the moment that I save and then I go back, now I have linked the 2 pages. Now my HTML will pick up the styles from this style CSS right there. So let's go back to our browser and refresh and see what happened. You see that? So the registration form is now aqua, pop-up, and testing. Everything has changed. Here is white because that's what we actually say, that the color should be white. So if we actually change that to maybe, what color do you guys want? Let's say coral. If we change that, file, save, you'll be able to see the text now. You see, username, password, and all that. So you basically just change directly in this page. And okay, currently there is no picture. I didn't put any picture there, so that's why it's not picking up that. Okay, maybe we should try to put a picture. Oh no, I can't go there. You guys will see my pictures. Okay, so basically that. So if you had a picture, you can put it in the same folder and you say URL, all right, and then you put the name of the picture right here in these columns, and then it will cover the whole entire page. Maybe we should do that. Okay, I hope there's no pictures. Which one perhaps can we take here? Okay, let's take this one here. We can actually copy this one and then go back to our desktop. We go back to test 1, and then we paste the picture right here. Okay, so we can actually rename it. Oops, where is my rename? Open, okay, create the new edit folder. Okay, all right, there we go. Here's the rename. We can actually shorten this to B3. Okay, so I renamed it to B3, and the type of this picture is JPEG. So I go back to my codes and I say B3, and make sure that the picture should also be in the same folder. So it's B3 and the type of my picture is JPEG. Can you see that it's picking up already? That's the reason why I ask you guys to use these types of editors, and you all have to stop using. There we go. Do you see that? Interesting, right? So that's how it looks like. All right, so CSS is very interesting, and what I basically just showed you guys is just the difference between the 3 types of CSS that we have. So I expect you guys to try it out and make sure that you master it. It's very simple and all that. And for your homework, I actually want you guys to find out the advantages and the disadvantages for inline, internal, and external. So having said that, enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.